Right now, millions of Americans are checking their bank accounts, wondering if that long-awaited $2,000 deposit has finally landed. You've probably seen the headlines or heard the rumors, everyone's talking about it. Maybe your neighbor even mentioned that President Trump has already approved new checks. But before you make any money moves or believe the chatter spreading across social media, here's what you really need to know. The truth about these supposed November payments is far more complicated than the flashy posts and clickbait videos make it seem. We're not just talking rumors, there are real policy talks happening in Washington, legitimate updates to benefit programs, and actual tariff discussions that could affect what shows up in your monthly income. The reality is, some seniors may see extra money others won't. And understanding exactly where you fall could be the difference between real relief and serious confusion. So in the next few minutes, I'll break down the facts behind these $2,000 check claims, what's real, what's still being debated, and whether you personally qualify for any actual payments coming this November. No hype, no guesswork, just verified information from official government sources you can trust. Let me be upfront with you, when you see headlines saying President Trump approves new $2,000 checks, it's natural to get excited. Maybe you even started thinking about what that money could do for you. I completely understand, because I felt the same way when I saw those posts starting to circulate. But here's the hard truth. Understanding reality is much more valuable than chasing false promises that leave you disappointed later. Right now, the internet is overflowing with videos and articles claiming President Trump has already signed off on $2,000 stimulus checks heading to Americans this November. The problem? Most of those claims are blending together old information, new rumors, and half-truths, creating a story that sounds amazing but doesn't match what's actually happening in Washington. And that kind of misinformation does real harm. It gets seniors' hopes up, spreads unnecessary fear, and distracts people from the real benefit updates that are happening, the ones that could actually help you. So let's clear things up and talk about what's really going on with government payments right now. Because yes, there are important updates, even if they're not exactly what those sensational headlines promise. First, let's start with Social Security, the foundation of income for most retirees. Any change here matters deeply. The Social Security Administration has already confirmed next year's cost of living adjustment, the COLA, increase. Now, this isn't a one-time $2,000 check, but it is a real, permanent boost to your monthly benefits that adds up over time. That adjustment affects tens of millions of Americans, and knowing exactly how much extra you'll receive each month is critical for your financial planning. Some of the confusion online comes from people taking this COLA update and mixing it with talk of tax rebates, then calling it a $2,000 stimulus check. That's how these misleading claims spread. Here's the truth. The COLA is simply a percentage increase applied to your existing benefit. So, if your monthly Social Security check is higher, your COLA raise will be larger in dollar terms. If your benefit is smaller, your raise will be smaller too. It's a normal annual adjustment, not a new stimulus or special program. But here's where a bit of truth sneaks into those viral headlines. Lawmakers in Washington have been discussing various proposals to help seniors and those living on fixed incomes. Some of those proposals include one-time payments to Social Security recipients ranging anywhere from a few $100s up to about $1,000, depending on the specific bill. These ideas were introduced because many seniors have been struggling with high inflation, rising food costs, and higher medical expenses. The problem is, proposing a bill is not the same thing as passing one. Just because a senator or a representative announces a plan doesn't mean checks are going out tomorrow. Bills have to move through committees, pass both the House and the Senate, and then get signed into law by the president, a process that can take months, or sometimes never happens at all. So whenever you see a claim about new payments being approved, you have to ask, are they talking about a proposed bill, something that passed one chamber, or an actual law that's already in effect? Now let's touch on another major source of confusion, the so-called tariff rebates. This is where a real policy discussion has been twisted into another misleading story. There have been conversations in Washington about using tariff revenue, that's the money the U.S. collects from taxes on imported goods, to give Americans some sort of rebate or tax relief. The basic idea is simple. When the U.S. imposes tariffs, that money flows into the federal treasury. Some policymakers think that revenue could be redirected back to citizens to help offset higher consumer prices caused by those same tariffs. It's an interesting concept, but again, discussing an idea is not the same as implementing it. Tariff rebates would require coordination between trade policy, tax policy, and the federal budget. Even if politicians agreed to it, deciding who qualifies, how much they'd get, and how the money would be distributed could take months or even years to set up. The government can't just announce checks on a Monday and have them delivered by Friday. These things involve complex systems, databases, and logistics that take real time to build. So the next time you see a viral post saying Trump's tariff rebate checks are being mailed now, take it as a signal to fact check, not to celebrate just yet. What you should really be focusing on right now are the verified government benefit programs, the ones that already exist, are funded, and pay out on a set schedule. Social Security payments are deposited like clockwork, based on your birth date. That schedule doesn't suddenly change because someone online says a new stimulus is coming. Supplemental Security Income, or SSI, follows its own timetable, usually hitting accounts on the first of each month. And if that date happens to fall on a weekend or holiday, payments typically arrive the business day before. These are the reliable deposits you can actually plan your life around. Knowing exactly when they land helps you budget for bills, groceries, and daily expenses. Now, beyond the usual payments, there are real discussions in Washington about improving benefits for certain groups of retirees who've been overlooked for too long. For example, seniors who spent years caring for family members, or those who had big gaps in their work history, often receive smaller checks even though they contributed in countless ways. Lawmakers have floated proposals to fix those inequities. These efforts are genuine and designed to help vulnerable seniors, but none of them involve $2,000 checks being mailed out this November. Let's also talk about Medicare, because that's another area where actual policy changes are happening and sometimes getting mixed up in this stimulus chatter. Medicare Part B premiums and deductibles adjust every year, and those changes directly affect how much you take home from your Social Security check. Since most retirees have their Medicare premiums automatically deducted, if premiums stay the same or drop slightly while your Social Security benefit goes up from the COLA, it can feel like you got a bonus, but it's really just how the math between those programs works. Here's a key thing everyone should remember about legitimate government payments. When a new program or one-time payment is officially approved, the announcement doesn't come from social media or YouTube videos. It comes from official government sources, the Social Security Administration, the U.S. Treasury Department, or the White House itself. Major news outlets then report on it, and the same information appears on verified sites like ssa.gov or irs.gov. If the only place you're hearing about a new payment is from viral posts or random videos, that's a red flag. Always pause and verify before believing it. Because here's what often gets overlooked: the emotional toll this kind of misinformation takes. When seniors are told to expect $2,000 and then the money never comes, it creates real stress. People start budgeting around funds they'll never receive. They delay paying bills or make purchases thinking relief is on the way, and when it doesn't show up, they're left scrambling. That's not just disappointing, it's dangerous. And unfortunately, this confusion also creates the perfect opportunity for scammers. Criminals know people are desperate for help, so they pose as government officials to steal personal information. They might call pretending to be from the IRS or Social Security, saying you need to confirm your details or pay a small processing fee to speed up your payment. Don't fall for it. The real government will never ask you to pay money to receive benefits you're entitled to. They also won't randomly call you demanding Social Security numbers, banking details, or personal data. If you want real, trustworthy updates about benefits or payments, stick to the official sources. The Social Security Administration's website posts all verified updates, COLA changes, payment calendars, and benefit adjustments. The IRS site is the go-to source for tax credits, rebates, or any stimulus-related updates. Yes, these pages may not look flashy or exciting, but they're accurate and they'll help you make informed financial decisions instead of chasing false hope. Looking forward, could new legislation eventually provide more support for seniors? Absolutely. Economic conditions shift, political priorities change, and what's impossible today could very well happen tomorrow. But until something officially passes, treat those stories for what they're ideas, not income. The bottom line is simple. Be cautious of big claims with small proof. Always double-check against official government sources. And never base your financial plans on money that hasn't been verified. Because while the truth might not generate the same excitement as viral headlines, it's the truth that actually protects your finances and your peace of mind. Your Social Security benefits are too important to gamble on misinformation.